This is a WTAJ News Special Report.
Thank you all for
Good afternoon, I'm
coming
Amanda
here.
Kenny. If you want to watch
Chief
President
John
Trump's
Gardner,
speech, head over to
Chief of State College
CBSNews.com. We
Police
apologize for interrupting him. Right now, the State College Police are getting ready to release more information on the shooting spree that happened last night. Let's take a listen.
We will make sure you get a copy of it. I just want to begin by reading this statement that also includes a timeline of events and would be available to answer a few questions afterwards, those that we can't answer if we can at this particular point. On January 24th, 2019 at approximately 10:14 p.m., the State College Police Department was dispatched to a report of persons shot at the P.J. Harrigan's Bar located at 1450 South Atherton Street. Officers arrived on scene at approximately 10:15 p.m. and found 3 gunshot victims in the area of the bar. Those victims were identified as Nicole Abrino, 21 years of age, Stephen Beachy, 19 years of age, and Dean Beachy, 61 years of age. Nicole Abrino sustained a chest wound and was transported to Mount Nittany Medical Center. Stephen Beachy was shot in the torso and was also transported to Mount Nittany Medical Center. They were later life-flighted to other medical facilities. Dean Beachy sustained a gunshot wound to the head and he died at the scene. We do have an update. As of 1 p.m. today, we were notified that Stephen Beachy passed away. The shooter was identified as Jordan Whitmer, 21 years of age, of Benner Township. It was learned that Jordan Whitmer and Nicole Abrino were at the bar together and were sitting at one side of the bar. Dean and Stephen Beachy were sitting at the other side of the bar across from Whitmer and Abrino. At one point, Whitmer got up from his bar seat, walked to the other side of the bar near the Beachys, where the Beachys were seated. We are still trying to determine what led Whitmer to pull out a handgun and begin shooting. After shooting all 3 victims, Whitmer fled the bar. While officers were attempting to locate Whitmer, Center County Emergency Communications Center reported a crash at the intersection of Wapelani Drive and Tussey Lane at approximately 10:46 p.m. Multiple officers responded to that location and found Jordan Whitmer's crashed vehicle that was unoccupied. Officers began an immediate canvass of the area attempting to locate Whitmer. At approximately 1:09 p.m., the State College Police Department was dispatched to 748 Tussey Lane for a reported burglary in progress with gunshots fired. Officers responded to that location and entered at approximately 11:14 p.m. Officers found Jordan Whitmer deceased in the living room with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head. Officers also found the resident of the home, identified as George McCormick, Mr. George McCormick, age 83 years of age, deceased with a gunshot wound to his head. Resident Joan McCormick, his wife, 80 years of age, was unharmed. Subsequent investigation revealed there is no relationship between the McCormicks and Jordan Whitmer. It is believed that this time he randomly chose their house after he crashed his vehicle. One other important to note was that he shot his way into the house. He shot a sliding glass door and kicked the door in, and that's how he entered. The State College Police Department was assisted by Center County Coroner Scott Sayers, the Ferguson Township Police Department, Patton Township Police Department, Penn State Police Department, and Center Lifelake Ambulance Services. All first responders are deeply saddened by these tragic events. Our hearts go out to the families and victims. This investigation continues, and we are urging anyone who may have information regarding this incident to contact the State College Police Department at 814-234-7150 or by email, or submit an anonymous tip through our website. We've also, with this press release, we've attached a timeline of events that will put it in sequential order so that it makes more sense to you. At this particular point in time, I want to address some certain issues that have come up about timeliness and warnings. I think what I want to stress more than anything with the public is that when officers are responding such an events like this, they immediately are trying to respond safely. Once they get there, they're trying to assess a situation. They need to identify immediate threats, both not only to themselves but other individuals in the immediate area. They have to triage injuries, render aid, and attempt to save lives. They need to obtain information from victims and witnesses. We need to be able to identify suspects and get that information from witnesses or victims themselves. but I want people to understand also, after doing all that, the first thing that the officers did was to put out information to all law enforcement officers in the center region, to include state police, a description of the individual, what had occurred, and to be on the lookout for him. One thing I want to also highlight is much of this information was already out on local TV or due to social media and people tweeting and what have you. By the time I arrived on scene, much of this information was out by 11 o'clock. I got to the scene probably 11:15, 11:20. If there's one thing I think we, or myself in particular as a police chief here, could have done better, it was to release information sooner that the threat had been eliminated. Unfortunately, you know, when you get caught up in this, we knew that there was no more threat to the public, and I wished if I could go back in hindsight and release that information sooner, that we could, so that the public wouldn't still be in a heightened state. So I take ownership for that. I want to make sure that you know that we were confident that there was no more threat to the community, but I take ownership for that. No immediate threats. There were no immediate threats to Penn State or its students. It was over before we could announce it or release any further information. And I would just like to say we relish our partnership with Penn State University, and we will continue to look for ways to improve our working relationships with them as we move forward, as we do with all of our partners. That's all I have to say on that matter right now. And I can entertain a few questions. Some I may be able to answer and some I may not, and I'll tell you honestly if I can.
Chief Hunter, whatever was
Yes.
your first question. In regards to the decision of why Penn State wasn't alerted, in a statement they said you were contacting the State College Police, or excuse me, the Penn State Police, and the decision to not alert students was based off of the knowledge of the location and the incident. Why weren't they alerted? This has received a lot of backlash on Twitter specifically.
I understand. Obviously, it was a State College incident. It was not a university incident. It's not subject to notification. You know, the fact of the matter is it was off campus. It was far enough away from campus that there was no direct threat, we determined, to Penn State or its students.
Also, one more question here. You said that it's not known what caused Whitmer to just open fire, but has it been determined if there were drugs or alcohol in the system at the time of the incident?
Again, that's something that, you know, will be fully investigated, and it's obviously something we wouldn't have immediate access to, but those are two of the questions we want answered.
Thank you so much.
You don't have any other people were in the bar at the time?
We know that there were the Beachies, the two Beachies, father and son. We know that there was the shooter and Nicole Brino, and there was at least one other individual, and there may have been a second one who left prior to this incident. So there were not that many people in the bar at the time.
Is there any indication how long Whitmer and the woman had been drinking there?
I believe there was some indication that they may have arrived somewhere around 8:30. Again, I could be, you know, give or take a few minutes.
Do you have an update on her condition?
I don't have any update on her condition. I do know that she's in a Pittsburgh area hospital.
Chief, do you have any information about the weapon? It appears that Whitmer was serving in the military.
All I could tell you, it was a small caliber semi-automatic, believed to be a 9mm, but we haven't verified that as yet.
Do you have any other background information about him?
No, we're in the process of working up the background on that as well. So we're still very early here, even though, you know, it seems to a lot of people that it's open and closed because we no longer have, you know, he took his own life and what have you. We are still going to be weeks and months following up on this to try to determine what happened here. Because what I don't want to have lost here on people is that 4 people lost their lives here.
Have you been able to confirm that he was still active duty?
We know he was in the military, and there was some discussion as to whether he was still in or had just gotten out.
Does your department have any sort of background with this guy?
We have, there was nothing in our record system or any record systems, any of the police departments in this area. There may have been something traffic related, and that's it.
Chief, is there any reason, any rationale why he headed the way he did? Was there any kind of family home there or any reason that he headed that way?
There's nothing to indicate that there were, but we're certainly looking at that. One of the things we wanted to do was try to verify, see if there was a relationship to the house he chose to go in. And there's nothing that indicates he knew anyone in that place. But that is something we're going to continue to explore and investigate as we move forward.
Did Mrs. McCormick say anything about why he was there? Was he there to hide or to steal a vehicle, anything?
We didn't get into that. She was obviously pretty traumatized, and obviously we've talked to her and we'll continue to talk with her. And as we learn more, as we're able to release it, we will do that.
Was he permitted to carry the handgun?
He had a lawful permit.
Anything else about the relationship between him and Nicole?
We're still exploring that as well. Whether there was a relationship beyond friends, I'm not prepared to say at this time, nor could I offer further comment on that.
Were there any other weapons in his car or not?
Not that I'm aware of right now.
Any, I don't know if you clarified if you know the order of which those people were shot in PJ Harris.
We are looking at that right now, and for me to comment on that right now, I don't want to misspeak and say it was, you know, this one and that. We will have a better understanding of that as this unfolds, this investigation.
Just to clarify, you don't know if the gentleman who was shot was trying to intervene in an argument, or it was just...
We're looking at all options right now, so we're trying to make sense of what occurred there, and obviously that's one thing we want to look at. And we're interested in seeing what precipitated or led up to this event.
Is there surveillance video?
They have active video feed that does not record. We looked for that, and they don't have the ability to produce it for us. It's just it's constantly streaming.
Was that his vehicle that he crashed?
Yes, it was.
How uncommon is something like this for this area of State College?
Well, it's not very common. I mean, obviously we're not immune from it like anywhere else. You know, it's something we have to be cognizant of, but relatively speaking, State College is one of the safest places in America. And that's by no small measure due to the people who work here and live here. And I'm not just talking about police, but it's the people in general who live here. And that's one of the reasons they want to live here, because it is a safe community. But having said that, I also understand we're not immune from these type of things happening. Thank goodness that they don't happen that often, but when they do, I think one of the things that the public here should be very proud of is the fact that the collaborative efforts of law enforcement and the court system and how everyone pulls together, all the other social providers and medical personnel that pull together and work in a time of crisis like this.
You mentioned that you thought there might be one other customer in the bar at the time of the shooting. I assume, did you know how many employees might be there?
There were 2 employees in the bar at that particular point in time. They have both been interviewed, and we'll probably be going back and talking with them again as well.
You mentioned he shot his way into the McCormick house?
He shot a sliding glass door.
Did Mr. McCormick, do you know if Mr. McCormick tried to confront him, or?
Don't know that yet. We're still looking into that.
Chief, do you recall an incident in your time with multiple gunshot victims like this in State College?
Nothing to this level. I mean, generally my experience has been that you have an incident, like I said, a bar, they shoot and then go off on their own and maybe take their own life or what have you. But this is probably my first recollection in almost 29 years that I've seen something like this. That's all I have right now. Thank you for coming here. As we learn more, we'll provide future updates. Thank you. And like I said, there are copies over here of both the press release and the timeline. You're welcome to take that. And if there aren't enough and one of you don't get it, please let us know and we'll make sure you get a copy.
All right, now just a quick recap of that press conference. They went over the timeline of events that happened last night. Although first we should say I'm here with Charlotte Ames, and 4 people in total, including the shooter, were killed in this
Another
incident.
one passed this afternoon, they said around 1 o'clock, Stephen Beachy.
That's right. So again, the order of events that they say this happened, there was the Beachy family, there were 3 of them, and then there was also the suspect, Jordan Whitmer. They were on opposite sides of the bar.
And Jordan Whitmer and Nicole Abrino.
That's right. And they don't really know exactly what
prompted the
exactly
Whitmer to go over to the Beachies and what prompted the shooting. They said actually, even though it looks like everything is over, it's weeks to months until they will really have this investigation concluded, and they'd like anybody with any information to please contact State College Police.
Absolutely. We'll have more tonight on WTAJ News at 5 and also on our website, wearecentralpa.com. We'll see you tonight.
This has been a WTAJ News special report.